I heard when I moved here that it's the satanic capital of Canada.
Really?
Yeah.
I've heard. I mean, we've had probably. God, I don't even know. I remember meeting a lady that lived there. So it's Vancouver Island, but is there a small island near it
There's
as
a
well?
whole bunch of islands.
Oh, but
Have you heard of Eckhart Tolle?
yeah.
He lives in an island not far.
All right.
Yeah.
So
So
I
there's
met this. I remember meeting this lady. This is back like when I first started in the studio, the original studio, like in 2014, and she was living on an island there, and it just sounded like this magical place. Like, I
there's
mean, she said there was all these people. There was like 50, 60 people living in the same. I don't think it was a commune type situation, but it was a neighborhood or an area. And then I've met several people, and we've interviewed people, and one of them had to do with God. This guy, his wife died.
I don't know what I just did, buddy.
What?
Did I just screw up?
What happened? What
I don't know.
happened?
As long as I'm talking to you,
What happened?
I hit a button.
Can
I,
you
I,
hear me?
I'm, I can hear you just fine.
Oh, you're fine.
Okay, okay.
What happened?
I, I'm technically challenged.
What happened when you pushed the button? What happened?
The screen just completely disappeared, and now it's
Oh,
back, right?
oh, now it's
Yeah.
back.
Okay, yeah. So I don't have a clue with technology. I don't read manuals or anything.
Yeah, you know that old saying of read the instructions first. I've been known to do it or not do it.
Sorry to interrupt. So you were saying the woman on a magical island or
No, there
something
was
like that?
just like I've heard that there's like a major ley line running through Vancouver Island, and it's I can't remember if it had some kind of connection to Avalon,
Oh,
but anyway, I remember hearing a story. In fact, we did a show from this location, and there's a guy there that his wife had passed, and he had built. I think it was a what do you call it? Labyrinth. I can't say that word. I think it was that. But
hmm
anyway, it was like a really magical place. I remember I was doing a show with a lady and a friend of mine, and she was on his land, and he was there, and we talked briefly. But yeah, I've just heard it's a really powerful
that
portal. But you say you
that
heard it
that
was a
that
satanic.
explains a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of magic in the air here. It's buzzing, and
Yeah.
I figure like I'm smack dab in some sort of portal vortex, something or other, because the stuff that's going on in my life has been freaking crazy.
Join the club.
Yeah, I'm glad to I'm glad to have found you. Is because
How
I'm not
long?
on Facebook or anything, so
Yeah.
my only thing is connecting with people online, and I only found your channel a few months ago.
Oh, is that right? I was going to ask you because you've been pretty noticeable on YouTube. Which
It
the YouTube thing, we didn't start doing YouTube until 20 2019. So it was
uh-huh.
like I had a YouTube channel, we had one, but and I would throw stuff on there every now and then, and I try to but we didn't really start putting Soul Speaks 5D. We had like 3,000 people, 3,000 subscribers, and it was about April of 2019. So that was kind of a late start because we'd already done, I don't know, I'd say probably 1,200 shows or something like that. And now we've got like, I think around 3,200. We're slowing our pace down a
Yeah.
little bit. We've dropped down to like 50 to 55 a month instead of 65 or 70. But yeah, so that, it started to take off. And I've noticed in the metrics that it used to be like my page on Facebook was about 60% of the viewers. And then we have two other pages on Facebook, and they would make up 20%, and then YouTube was like 10 or 15%, and now it's pretty big. Now it's like some of the shows there's more people on YouTube than on my page. So,
Wow.
but I've noticed your name in there a lot because you make a lot of comments and stuff, and I can't because it's not like a Facebook thing. I can't really like pick up enough energy just off the comments, which your
Yeah.
comments are always cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
It's like an only outlet for me because I don't talk to anybody.
really?
So it's like, it's okay. I got to launch something out, whatever popping through my mind.
So how long have you been on Vancouver Island?
That's it. I moved here the winter of '96, the first major snowstorm in 75 years. I grew up in the prairies. That's a whole nother story in itself on just how I got here is quite the journey. So I don't know. To be honest, is like when I reached out to you, I was not expecting you to ask me to come on the show or anything, right? I was just like, okay. And then when you said, ask me, I'm like, oh shit, what have I done?
Oh, you weren't planning on coming on. You just reached out to me. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. But you know what? It's like, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm a big numbers person, right? So I sat on it overnight, and then in the morning I decide, okay, I'll agree, and then or the next day I say I'll agree, and then I go back. Oh man, was that the right thing to do? I walk into a room, and I have 4 clocks in the house. They're all different times, so I don't know what time's correct, right? And the clock says 11:11.
Oh wow.
Okay, and so I go to sleep. I wake up in the morning. I walk out to another clock, which is a complete different time, and it says 6:39. So I'm like, okay, this was the right move. Okay.
There you go. So I don't know where you want to start. You said that's a big story living on the prairie, and
Yeah.
it's a big
Well,
story moving to Vancouver, and
yeah. If I could start.
Yeah, go ahead.
If no, my apologies.
No, you start wherever you want to start.
Okay. I'll start before my dad was. When my dad had cancer when he was 16, a super rare form of cancer. They were surprised that he actually beat it because most people were dying. They took his leg off at 16 years old. Wow. And then he broke his neck a couple of times. So it was almost like they don't want him procreating or something, whoever they is, right? And then eventually he met my mom, and that went sideways, and he wasn't going down the path that he was going on anymore, because you start paying your mortgage and everything starts going like that. Starts having kids. My mom gets pregnant with me, and she almost has me while she's taking a pee. So I would have done a head plant into the ceramic swimming pool. Oh my God. Then when I was about 4 years old, we had a swing in the backyard, one of those ones where 2 people sit on this side, 2 on this side, and you go like that. And there's a platform at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
So provokes me to crawl underneath while it's swinging. I crawl underneath, no problem. I walk out to the front of the house. There's a kid that's taller than me, and he says, "Dean, the whole top of your head is bleeding." Whoa. And I'm like, whoa. My head's covered with blood. I go inside. I tell my mom. She cleans it up. It was just a graze, but I go back out and I look at the swing, and there's these 1.5-inch lag bolts out of the bottom of it. And all I needed was one of those to dig a hole in my crown chakra, and who knows what would have happened there.
Wow. Yeah.
So that was 4 years old. Then a couple of years later, we moved, and I'm walking down the back alleyway to school, and I get to a place by this house, and something pops into my head that says, "You're here for a special reason." And I'm like, what? Aren't we all here for a special reason or whatever? I just dismissed it. And I'm not starting to remember a lot of this stuff until now.
Really?
Yeah. So I went to school, carried on being a kid. That was 6 years old. The next year, 2 years later, I'm walking the same part of down the alleyway, and another thought pops into my head. And this is in my words now, but as the thought was, you're in an avatar.
How old are you when this happened?
About 10. I guess it was 10.
You're in 10. Did you hear the word avatar?
No. It was more like more like Fred Flintstone operating the dinosaur. It was more like that. I was in the eyes operating this machine is how I
Oh,
how
wow.
I how I put it.
Wow.
And sorry, going back, I missed a couple of spots. Between the ages of 6 and 10, there was two incidences where I got my bell rung again, and I was on my sister's friend's place, and I was about 7 feet high up on these monkey bars, and the girls are down there, and I don't know if I was going to show off or what I was trying to do, but I said I'm going to fly around the backyard like Peter Pan. And no sooner had I said that, something seemed to push me, and I did a head plant straight into the dirt. And I'm laying there wondering if I'm going to die. My lungs collapsed. I'm staring up at the sky. I don't know what's going on. The girls are freaking out. Then my lungs rose back up or reinflated, and I got back up. The following year, I was at a friend's lake, and the boys were catching frogs and throwing the frogs in the air to let them land on the concrete and splat. And I was just horrified. So I screaming no, and I'm running around trying to catch raining frogs. That little game ended, and I'm walking up on an embankment fence, and something seemed to have pushed me off again, and I do another head plant into the ground. My lungs collapsed once again. And it was the complete same scenario where they went down and back up again. And I didn't know if I was dying or anything. And then that was the two that I didn't fit in before. Sorry, I'm losing track of my thought here because I don't normally talk about this stuff.
No, you're on it.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, did all of these memories just come back to you?
A couple of them just came back to me. Some of them were there, but not in the detail that I'm remembering now of the subtleties. If that makes sense.
Do you have any feel for what that was all about?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of
Yeah.
weird. You do. What do you feel?
Yeah. Can I keep going?
Yeah.
First?
Just keep going. Yeah, just keep going. I won't even say
Okay.
anything.
Okay. No, I appreciate you saying, because when you're saying, then I'm sort of recalibrating what I'm
Okay.
talking about. Okay. So I
Okay.
appreciate that. Thank you very much. You're the hostess with the mostest, buddy. So that was 10. Yeah. So then I'm 12, and I grew up in Saskatchewan, prairie land, farmland, but I was in the city, so it's flat as a bone. And there was a ski hill that was made, and we went out skiing one time, and I was a brand new skier, competitive juices happening, and we're gonna make a jump and go over this jump. So I'm zipping down the hill, and I go over this jump, and while I'm in the air, some person goes underneath me. Anyways, there's a fence post, and I do a head first into this pole that's like that thick. Knocked me out cold for a week.
Wow.
They didn't know if I was gonna die or be paralyzed or have any brain function or anything. And the following month or so, I was in the hospital in this hazy state until they released me. But while I was in there, I remember walking in the bathroom and stopping to look in the mirror, and eye to eye connection with reflection. And all I could hear was, "This isn't real." As in, life isn't real. And that voice was from the regular me, that was the normal voice in my head, not the one that was in the hazy state, physicality of being injured.
Wow.
I got out of the hospital, and I spent a few months at home in recuperating and learning how to walk and so forth. And I go back to school in the following September. And I remember this one just came back to me more recently. I remember standing in the playground, and when you're in school, everybody in school, and if there's a new kid, you know who it is. They stand out like a sore thumb. Some kid approached me who I'd never seen before, it's like he was there to remind me. And he said, all I remember hearing is, there's a handful of families controlling this world. When I'm 12 years old. So I don't know if he was inputting something because they didn't know if it was going to get erased from being in the hospital.
So I've run into people, and I've had this happen to me as well, where you could be talking to a friend, or you could just be riding. I know I had one friend that happened on the subway in New York, where somebody just turns to you and says something to you, like they're not even aware of what they're saying. And, that's always been an interesting phenomena. I don't know if it's our higher self speaking through someone else, or however you put that. Yeah, keep going. This is really interesting.
Yeah.
So he tells you there's only a handful of families that control the world.
Yeah, that's all I remember. So it's like, okay, that little seed has been planted. That was his only purpose. I never saw the kid again. So I don't know what happened there. So I carry on with my dysfunctional family upbringing, and all the magic that happens in your life up to 12 gets squashed once it's puberty time, right? It's just not there, right? And I had the whole time I had a really hard time fitting in with kids. I just always felt like I was the observer on the outside. For some reason. Oh, sorry, going back. I remember my mom took me to the store one time to get a winter jacket, and I wanted this one it was all silver, black and red. I looked like Mork from Ork. So I don't know if this was some sort of space age thing that I was getting into, but I remember going to school wearing this thing, and I'm proud, and everybody making fun of me for doing this, right? So then the world gets smaller, right? And I start going in. I lost my train of thought. This happens a lot.
This is what happens. This is what's happened to all of us.
Oh, I remember another thing. Sorry. I got some cheat sheets here, cheat notes, which I already mentioned. I just found this out a week ago. My dad, while he was in the hospital, or before he got married, he wanted to be, I never knew this, and my dad just passed away. That's another story I need to bring up, is he wanted to be an English teacher, so he was doing all kinds of reading. And so fast forward, we move into our new house. I get the bedroom downstairs, and I find this box of books in there. And I open this box of books, and there's books on the Bhagavad Gita.
Really?
Yeah, which is what, 2,500 years before the Bible, right? I had no idea my dad was reading stuff like that. And we had a Buddha in the basement. My parents weren't anything to do with something along that lines.
To your knowledge at the time, anyway.
Sorry?
Right? To your knowledge at the time, anyway.
Yeah. Well, they didn't. Yeah, no, they didn't.
What kind of work did your dad do?
He worked. He was sort of like an accountant controller. That kind of thing.
I was just curious if he worked for the military.
If he did?
Yeah.
No.
So you're basically an ET, or something's going on here. We're all
well,
ETs,
you know what? We all are ETs. That's funny you say that, because I'm going to be jumping all over, and skipping a lot of cool shit. But I drove a bus for a living, and I remember this kid. This was 2 weeks after COVID started, and I see this kid walking over to me, and he's early 20s, and he gets on, and he talked to me not like I would expect it. I saw a wise old soul in this 22-year-old or whatever, and he gets on, and we start talking about what's going on with the COVID thing in there and everything, and we both agreed just like that. Okay, this is a psyop or whatever they're doing here, right? And then while he's on the ride with me, he comes up and tells me that I'm from another galaxy. What? And I'm like, okay, all right, I don't know. I suspended disbelief or anything 20 years prior. So yeah, so I'm open to listening to anything. I've always gone down to that place. If I don't judge anything, it's more like a neutral standpoint. I just take it all in. Oh, one other thing. When I was a kid, yeah, this in the room, I remember seeing this gargoyle or something like a little golem or whatever jumping around my bedroom on the roof. Scared the hell out of me one night. I don't know. I ended up sleeping. I pulled out the drawers of my bunk on my captain's bed and slept into there one night.
Wow.
But yeah,
Dude,
yeah,
they used to happen to me when I was a kid.
really.
I'm gonna be 60 this next week. And but when I was a kid, like I want to say like probably like 4, 5, 6. I think it went up until like second grade, so like 7 or 8 even. Well, there was this show called Johnny Quest. It was a cartoon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was my favorite show, or my favorite character, I would say. But in the show, they had this gargoyle episode, and it like I had the same thing that you're talking about. It came back to me several times over the last few years, and I know that shit was real. Like this what you just described that happened to you in your bedroom, very similar. Always on the roof, always. Yeah, I mean, it was just like weird. It just kept coming back. But yeah, I think there's something to that.
I'm glad you said that because I've never told that to anybody.
You're not the only one. You're
Yeah,
not the only.
I'm glad.
So what is all this? Okay, so let's back up a little bit. So let's just say 2012. Terms like ascension. Some of the things they talk about in these communities. When did you when did you come to the point you went, hey, I think this is worldwide. Something's going down.
Well, I was all that stuff that happened to me as a kid was kind of guiding me. How I'm looking at it now is to not get married, to stay single.
Really?
Yeah, that's how I'm looking at it. So I stay the course of what my mission is, and not
Okay.
like if that makes any sense.
So all
So
these things that happened were telling you who you were, and it was more like intuitive. It sounds like, and you understood not to get married. Do you?
yeah,
I don't.
a lot of relatives on my father's side never got married their whole life. There's a
I wonder why.
whole lot of them.
Does it have something to do with not making babies or what?
No, no, I think it's so that um, I, is, I think if I don't know how I'm how I can only look at it from my perspective.
Right,
That
right.
if I went down the road of getting married, I wouldn't have had the curiosity to look at the information that I did because I would be caught up
I got you.
in in household whatever, in marriage whatever.
So really you've been on the path the whole time.
Yeah, in one way or the other. Yeah, yeah, on some underlying current. So, anyways, we were 1 month away from getting married, and I knew this was not the right thing to do, right? But it was codependent, right? It was complete neurosis and dysfunction, the whole thing, right? So then it blew up, and I had a dark night of the soul, and it lasted like 6 hours or something. She wouldn't let me sleep in the bed. I'm crying like a baby in the hallway. But in the morning, I felt freaking great. It's like I had a Satori over those 6 hours. And I was good to go. I couldn't wait till this was over. Right. And this whole time so actually, I probably skipped a bunch of stuff here because I'm already in Victoria. I didn't do the transition.
Keep
That was a
going.
good story in itself.
Hmm.
Anyways, yeah, so this was 2001 we broke up. We broke up 2 months before 9/11. But this whole time I'd been reading all kinds of books. I never read books as a kid, but then I discovered these self-help books like Think and Grow Rich and Psycho Cybernetics, and I'm looking at these things and I'm going, this explains a lot. I could have used this stuff a long time ago. Why did nobody tell me these kind of books existed? I would have read them, right? Like, so that just took the rubber band off my thinking. And then I was open to anything. I would go to the used bookstores and peruse, and I'd go on to the library computer and I'd look at books that were being pulled out of circulation from the library, and those were the ones I would go look for in the used bookstore, and started putting the pieces together. I didn't have any work, so I couldn't um, I couldn't go to the Himalayas to go into a cave, so I did the next best thing. I didn't work. I paid my rent with my credit card, and when the credit card bill came, I took an advance on my line of credit, and I did that for about 2 years, Paul to Peter and Peter to Paul, so I could keep on working within myself, meditating 3 hours a day, and a voracious reader. I read like a few hundred books within a short period of time. And it was just a condensed version of kind of whatever to good to go liftoff. So by 2003, from 2002 until 2014, I would have to say 80% of the time I was living in peace and harmony for the most part, in spite of having financial situations pop up here and there. But it was pretty cool. And I wasn't. Oh yeah, sorry. Back in 2001, I was reading books on the conspiracies and ascension and all this stuff, and so I had an understanding of 9/11 and how that all worked, and all David Icke and all these kind of things. Um, but I kind of put that to the side because I realized, well, that's kind of one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is I have to work on my spirituality and cultivate my feminine side, because my relationship at the time, I was doing everything wrong. So I was reading like men are from Mars, women are from Venus, things that I could do to cultivate what to kind of merge the sides within themselves, and because I had no intention of getting married or anything, that it was going to help me find some peace. I was seeking for enlightenment. Whatever enlightenment was, I had no idea. I just wanted that. That was my end game.
Hmm.
And then so I'm in Victoria. 2012 happens, and my sleep starts going to shit. I haven't, no, 2009. I haven't slept more than 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours at a shot since 2009.
Is that right?
Yeah,
That's wild.
yeah,
I,
And
have you? I'm just curious, and please continue. But have you had like what you might call any divine episodes or visitations or paranormal or weird experiences?
the only thing weird, I haven't had any visitations or anything. That what's happened to me most is the numbers. I'm a numbers person, so the numbers that float in front of my face on a consistent basis has fried my mind for the last year and a half, which were some of the comments that I put in on some of your videos. I don't know if you saw them or anything, but like, I never heard about this 144 thing until very recently. I had no idea what the heck that was. But just for example, the grocery store that's right here, I'm at the till, and the one cashier says to the other cashier, I just saw the movie Avatar last night. I can't look at my life the same anymore. My ears perk up and I go, holy crap. I grab my receipt and it's 4411. I walk through the parking lot and I see a car, and the license plate is 414. And then the doubtful mind comes up and says, yeah, but those numbers aren't in the order. So, but I look at the next car over and it's 144.
Isn't that crazy? And I was going to ask you, but you already answered the question, because I've noticed it's increased dramatically, like
Yeah,
in the last year and a half.
you have. Yeah.
I don't know the exact time frame, but you said that time frame. Like a lot of things have corresponded with the introduction of the program of COVID. But
Yeah, the
yeah,
blessings of COVID.
right now, everybody,
Totally.
now, like when COVID hit and restrictions hit, your life didn't even change. So many people are the same, because we're
Yeah.
basically
Yeah.
secluded.
Yeah. The first few months I was kind of going down some rabbit holes and looking at some stuff, but I knew it was all BS. But then I was like, man, this is just fantastic. Bring it on.
Right on.
Because yeah, so it's like that where I'm living now. It's like I was stationed out here. I live There's a ancient old growth forest right behind me. It's got I just found out this from a special friend that I just met. There's like 1,000-year-old foliage and microorganisms growing there. The Pacific Ocean's right out here. There's a whole bay that had first people settlements. There's an ancient burial ground over here. And the energy here is just insane. I got animals walking up to me, listening to me play guitar, stopping, walking right up to my feet. I was meditating. And then before I know it, there's two deer right in my space. It's right freaking looking at me.
Wow. Are you meeting any people there that are awake, or that?
Well, I mean, a lot of people that are trying to wake up.
What
But
about the energy of the place? I mean, what is it just something you know? I mean, how do you
well,
feel?
I I'm super sensitive with energy, so I thought I had health problems or something, but I'm constantly just vibrating off the planet, off my seat, right? The energies here is intense. It's uh yeah, but it's good. It's a good intense.
Yeah, I think it was last night, and this has happened a few times over the last few days, but last night was really different. But I was standing in the kitchen doing a bunch of stuff, and at one point, it literally felt like the rumblings of an earthquake. Like there's this vibration that had been going on off and on, maybe a little bit electric, but this wasn't. This was just a vibration, almost like a magnetic vibration. And I was just standing there, and it was surreal. And I was
This was
just like,
yesterday?
I think this was yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. Because I remember standing there going, is this shit real? And then and it was surreal at the same time, but at the same time, that voice you're talking about,
Yeah.
that real voice, it just started laughing. like yeah, it's going down, and like you're all being fed a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, and now it's starting to get real palpable.
Yeah.
That's kind of the vibe I got from it.
Which was, if it was yesterday, the day before that, now it's the new celestial year, right?
I
Which was on the 29th or 30th. That's what Estes was just saying.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, well, yeah. Somebody sent me, or they made a comment or I don't know, but it was just in the last 12 hours or so. In fact, I sent this comment to Morgan, because last night Morgan sends me a text out of nowhere. We'd already said goodnight, and I was going to bed, and she said, I feel like I'm disappearing. And I said, what? And then she didn't say much after that. But here we go with the coincidences and the synchronicity, because it's more than numbers now. So right from there, somebody sends me a note or something, and right in front of my face, oh, I know what it was. I was going down the YouTube comments, because I do that before I go to bed at night, and acknowledge every one of them with a heart. Read them and acknowledge them, occasionally say something. And what happened was there was this comment, and it was off one of the shows the last couple of days. And the lady says, Jason Estes just said this, it's the old Matrix is gone, period. It's the new year and something else. And she said, I felt like I was disappearing. And so she says in this comment, I felt like I was disappearing, and or something to that effect. And this was yesterday. So now that I think about it, that vibration I was feeling was yesterday. And in fact, I wasn't in the kitchen. I was sitting on the couch taking a break, and I could feel it come up through my feet and into my body, but my feet were doing the vibrating, but it was going through my whole body, if that makes any sense.
Yep. It's intense.
So why did you ask? Has it been like that for you yesterday, or even
the past, ever since? So the November 11th to the 21st of December is like the 40-day Jesus walk kind of thing. It's 40 days, and we're right smack in the middle of it. So that was probably the peak yesterday, today, kind of thing. But I haven't. My ears have been humming. I've been buzzing for the past 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've been single, right, for 20 years. And then I decided completely out of the blue that I was going to start getting groceries delivered. So I called up to get some to place an order, and I talked to the gal, and as soon as she said something, I was like, whoa, code's been activated. Her voice, it just like bam. We could have talked on the phone for 3 hours. No problem.
Did you get her number?
Oh, it gets much better than that. So
tell us about it.
Yeah. So I was the following week I'd do some call again for some groceries. Same thing happened. We just had instant rapport, and we could have talked for the longest time. So this went on for about 7 weeks. Then I placed another call, and while I'm on the phone, she says something that triggered something within me. And you know that scene in The Matrix where the girl turns and the rabbit on her shoulder? That's what happened. She said something, rabbit activation. Okay. And then I proceeded and said, well, we should get together and chat or whatever. We agreed to do that. So get this, dude. I only saw her in person 96 hours ago for the first time.
You got to be kidding me. See, sometimes I'll send people send messages that, they want to come on the show, and I'll tell them, this is what we do. And every now and then somebody will say, what do you mean by real-time intel? And I said, just what's happening right now. And here we are. You just met this lady 96 hours ago?
Yeah. Yep. Specialty. Yeah. So now we're chatting every day. Yeah, and it's pretty out of the blue.
So you have these phone conversations for 7 weeks, and then you decide to meet, and that was 96 hours ago.
It was only the phone conversations were strictly grocery orders, nothing else other than ordering for groceries. Then we decided to meet. She lives 5 minutes away, and so we met I live a 2-minute walk from the beach, so we just met at the beach.
Really?
Yeah, I go down to the beach like 3 times a day.
This sounds like a fucking fairy tale, which it is. But so you got to tell me. I'm like, so you say we're going to meet at the beach, and you go to the beach, and what happens? I mean, like,
Well, the first thing that she said, she looked at, just locked eyes, and she said, "I know you."
Far
Yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah,
Far out.
yeah, yeah. It was very cool. Yeah, she's sweet. So if I can jump back a little bit, we could go all over the place, wherever you want to go, right?
You
But
do whatever you
I,
want.
I, I, like I said, I never, for the past, all I, all I was watching on, I just stopped reading. All I was watching on YouTube was guitar videos. I play guitar, so I was just stealing licks. I wasn't paying attention to nothing that was going on in the world. I don't watch the news. I don't have TV. I don't do any of that, right? I'm not on Facebook or anything. So I was just doing my own thing. And then I started looking at some stuff online. I was watching a few things on YouTube. My father passed away at the tail end of the Lionsgate portal
This year?
this year, 4 months ago or 5 months ago or whatever that was.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, no, it's thank you, but it's fantastic. He transitioned. Let's use that term. Um, so he was having a hard time leaving. He was stubborn. It's like he wanted to stay here for us. And I hadn't seen him in the last couple of years because of the COVID thing, and I'm 1,000 miles away.
Wow.
So something told me 3 days before his passing to just to go into a space within and just say, Dad, it's okay. You can let go. Just go into your heart. We're gonna be all right. You can let go. I do this for about 5 minutes. So 3 days later, I get a phone call from my sister. Dad passed away. And the nurses told me that he had a rough night. And all he was doing was screaming, Dean, Dean, where are you? At the top of his lungs.
Wow.
That was Friday, August 13th. That afternoon, for the very first time, I saw an episode of Soul Speaks 5D, and the episode was Franco. That was the very first episode I saw, and the only reason I watched it, I'm going to hear what the bald guy has to say. And as soon as you guys started chatting, Franco wasn't even talking 2 minutes. I was like, this guy's got it. And I was hooked ever since. So that's 4 months ago.
God. That's just wild. I mean, what can you say about that? This whole thing, like the truth frequency or the flow frequency or whatever you want to call it, the synchronicity. Like the numbers were just the beginning, right? Like listening to your story, it's so subtle. You're kind of like going, is this actually happening?
Yeah.
Like just the flow of what you just said about your father and then into Franco. And then of course we know Franco's transition, but and you're bald headed and Franco's bald headed and why'd you order the groceries? And you heard her voice. And I if you just started watching us since August, Morgan and I have made countless videos. We've probably done 40, 50 videos over the years. And we've obviously talked about our relationship, but there's many times that we've brought up, because we met by messaging at 3:00 in the morning, my time. The next day I get up and I said, I got to talk to you on the phone. And she resisted. And then I got her on the phone. But as soon as we heard each other's voices, something triggered. And so we've had other people come on the show and say the same thing.
Like Taino the other day, yesterday.
Yeah.
Right? Well, on that, with your show, you had the group, Taino was saying he just met that girl.
Yes.
Right?
Right. He just met her. And God, that's right. See, he had sent me like a video message. And I can't get to the messages. I mean, it takes me like a while. But I got to his after 3 or 4 or 5 days, and he was just telling me hey, I met this lady, and you're right, and he just starts telling a story, and it's just amazing, like the one you're telling. I mean, this stuff's going down all over the world. I'm convinced. I'm
Yeah.
convinced that there's so much bullshit being put out there, propaganda, whatever, distraction, whatever you want to call it, because this is getting louder and louder and louder, and it's futile. There's no way to stop this. I mean, this
Well,
energy
exactly.
is mind blowing.
It has to reach the saturation point. That's what's going on.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. There's too many fairy tale stories occurring. Look, Julie Persson, she's real. She's a beautiful sister. She's real involved. She's here every day. What can I say? But she said her dad passed on August 13th, 2020. There's
Oh,
another sync.
I guess a lot of souls kind of choose to go around that Lionsgate portal, from what I heard. A lot of leave.
Yeah. Yeah. And, that's another thing that's happening is people transitioning. That was one of the things that Franco talked about. And other people have said the same thing, maybe not in the exact same words. And that is, a quarter of the population will transition. And my understanding is they take a lot of darkness with them in a good way. They hold space on the other side, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I wonder if we're going to see them materialize. Like if we're going to just transcend death as a whole, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
in other words, raise our frequency, or the Earth's frequency raises enough that it supersedes, let's just call it 3D, where death is apparently real. And then we're going to be walking down the street and meeting our loved ones that transitioned just like this.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for the limitlessness of it all.
Yeah. It's cool. Whatever happens, happens. Right. Enjoy the ride.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Man, for 2 nights in a row, I've just mantraed, I can teleport anywhere on the earth physically. I physically will. I can. Telling myself I can do this. I do this. I mean,
Yeah. And then the program takes over. Self-programming.
well, I figure, what's there to lose?
Nothing.
It's all about belief systems. I mean, what is that? In the medical studies, the placebo. The placebo effect, to me, since I was a little kid, I've always been intrigued by that. I thought, well, that's just, nobody told them you couldn't do it, kind of thing. And you go out and do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where are you at with all this now? From your perspective, whatever you want to talk about.
No. Can you reformulate that question so it's more precise?
Yeah. So like you've had this incredible journey. You've been plugged in. Like almost like on a frequency band. It sounds like. Some people come on here and they talk about, oh, I got visited by this essence, and they took me through initiations, or dragons came, or this, that. Yours has been pretty cool because you're getting all these impressions in, you're recognizing them, you're moving on, following them, and now here we are, and you're in the last just few weeks feeling massive vibrations through your body and energy, and meeting somebody whose voice triggered you.
Yeah. Okay. So I've been vibrating off the roof since November last year. Right? Like total. I have so much energy surging for the past 14 months, 13 months right now. So I go into the I go into the gap quite a bit, right?
That's okay.
The gap between thoughts, that's where I reside. I just watch my thoughts go by like a stream of clouds.
So
So
what
as
is
soon as
that?
I start have to formulate a thought, then it's like, okay.
You're already in the telepathic field. So what does that feel like to you? I mean,
um, it, if
the vibrations running, the energy running through your body since 13 months ago.
Yeah, I'm just kind of I'm just kind of floating in a hazy state. Like for the like I couldn't care less. I did like a lot of people are going, when is this going to end? When is it going to end? I don't care when it ends, right? We've been waiting how many thousands of years? It's going to end when it ends. It doesn't matter, right? So I don't spend a lot of time. I completely live in the moment, and I've done so for the last 20 years. Um, I so I don't concern myself with what's going on 10 minutes from now.
Right.
I quit. I quit I had a job driving a bus, which was great. I'd be driving the bus all around Victoria. I have crystals in my pocket, right? And I'm blasting out love frequency. People are getting on. I remember I had to train a driver a long time ago, brand new driver, and I said, well, just imagine they got a flower in their heart as they get on, right? They don't teach that in the manual, right? So,
Holy
anyways,
Bruce said the magic school bus.
yeah, Ramdas, magic school bus, right? People get on and they don't know why they're in such a good mood. I'd drop essential oils by the fare box. They'd get on and they'd be in a hazy state, walking to the back, right? Um, and I never planned on quitting, but because the COVID thing, we had so many drivers quitting or sick or whatever, were short. So they made all our shifts so long. So I couldn't work a long shift anymore. And because of all the accidents I had, my back was getting to me. So 4 o'clock in the morning one night, it just out of the blue, a message comes in, says you just got to quit. So 4 hours later, I called up the managers and I said, yeah, I'm done. I didn't even go in for my shift that day. No warning. I just pulled the plug. So now I don't do anything except, blast frequencies out into the cosmos and go to the
Wow.
beach or into the forest all the time. Um, and I'm just riding the wave.
Are you still having so you mentioned that you were having animal encounters where you live.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, actually, that's a good one. This is really cool. I was laying on my bed or on the couch. I was having an afternoon nap 2 years ago, and I think it was the one of the days when it was like sleep paralysis.
Hmm.
When you can't wake up, you can't get out of your body,
Hmm.
and then I get up eventually, and I spring up and I look out the window, the kitchen window, and about 30 yards away, there's a great blue heron standing in the backyard. I lock eyes with it. It can't see me. There's no way it can see the way the shades is. But as soon as I looked out the window, it saw me and it marched like it was on a mission straight up to my back door. And I have the video of it, and I'll send it to you if you like, or a picture.
Yeah,
It's a great blue heron stood at my back door in my backyard for frickin' 2 days.
dude, you're lit. You are lit. Send me that video. I'm trying to put some stuff together with video production.
I tried to email it and it won't work because it's too long. So I don't know how to I don't know how to send it.
Which are you? Do you use Gmail? What do you
Yeah,
use?
and it wouldn't work. I couldn't Gmail it.
So uh,
And
you,
I'm technically challenged, so that doesn't help. I
I'll
can
help.
send you the picture though.
I'll help you with it. I'll help you how to. I'll show you how to do it.
Okay. Okay. So the other thing is these couple other animal things is I was driving the bus and I see this eagle come out of nowhere, and he does it almost like a dive bomb 30 feet above my bus, out of the blue, like that, right? And I go, oh, shit, sign. I look over to see what time it was, and it was 4:14. And then another time I was driving, and a peacock came right down in front of my windshield with the big, huge blue wings, and landed on the road. So he didn't land right in front of me, but freaked me out. 2 months later, there's a peacock standing in my backyard.
You're Pleiadian, obviously. That Pleiadian peacock connection.
Are they bird connection there with the Pleiadians?
I think it's a connection with the colors.
Oh,
Morgan had mentioned it to me before. It's like in the eye of that peacock color is
yeah.
very Pleiadian.
Oh,
You're
wow.
definitely an ET. There's no doubt. You're in the class of Franco.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, as far as like, it's obvious you're ET. We're all ETs.
We're all ETs. Yeah, well, I remember the first started that 20 years ago when I went to a friend asked me to come to their daughter's wedding. I didn't know anybody. So I'm just walking around the reception area, just kind of people watching. And a couple days later, she calls me and she says, Dean, do you want to come over? And I said, sure. So I go over and have a conversation with her, and she goes, a friend of ours was at the reception, and she wants to meet you. And I go, why does she want to meet me? And she goes, well, she's an energy healer, or she sees energy or something. And she said that your energy field was huge, your aura. This is all new to me. And I said, what's an aura?
As there's 114 in the house.
Is there really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. Cool. Wow. Yeah. So it's good times. It's I love being human. I love this. I love being in this realm.
That's crazy, because last night when I went to bed and I connected, after the mantras, I started saying that out loud. I was like going, I am so honored to be a human being. I am so honored to be a human being. It is such a reverent thing to be a human being. I just started saying this. Like, I don't want to be anywhere else. It's not that I'm attached, but this is badass. I mean, as you get more perspective, as the real stuff is coming in, and the synchronicities and the stories and the memories and everything, you're just going, because you start to have a perspective and additional contrast, things to compare to at this level of that space that in between thoughts that you're talking about. And you're looking at being a human. It's like, whoa, we get to laugh. We get to cry. We get to, eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches with Fritos in it. We get to eat pancakes with syrup. We get to touch each other. We get to, you know what I mean? I mean,
the whole potpourri.
It's badass.
It's badass.
It really is.
Yeah. It's a blessing. It's yeah.
Allison says that you do look like Franco. I didn't think about that, but there is something going on here, man. I wouldn't be surprised if Dean and Franco are somehow connected very deeply, and maybe.
As crazy as that sounds, that what popped into my head is Nicola.
Wow. That's trippy. That's trippy.
Life's a trip.
You're tripping me out, dude. I was thinking, so this is the third thing that's come up since what happened with me just in the last 24 hours. So I speak to him now and then throughout the day.
Yeah.
I just say, hey, what's up, Franco? What the hell's going on? And sometimes, especially when he first transitioned, he came in real strong. and sometimes I don't hear anything, and sometimes, and it's my energy, I'm sure, and sometimes I'll get an impression, but yeah, now you're tripping me out. I think maybe, yeah, you're from the same energy complex as Franco. You have shared space, like like an energy complex, like raw. You
You know
where it's
what's
more.
funny is raw. How often I would see that on a license plate in front of me too is
Mm.
raw. There was I lost my wallet in August. I couldn't find it. All my ID was in there, and I had $400 in it. And I was like, okay, I'm not getting triggered, but I hope whoever found it, they need the money, and that it helps them out. And on some level, I thought, well, maybe I'll get my ID back. And a few months passed, 4 months, 3 months, 3 months passed. I opened the mailbox, and my wallet's in there with a note from Canada Post with a little a money order for $100 because somebody anonymously dropped it in a mailbox or whatever. But my wallet was mailed to me from Scarborough, Ontario, which isn't far from Toronto.
That's a long ways.
That's a long ways
Somebody took your wallet all the way to.
to Toronto.
What the hell is that all about?
Well, I don't know, but
That's trippy.
you've been interviewing some people from Toronto,
Yeah,
and Franco lived outside of Toronto or in Toronto or
yeah,
somewhere out there. So like
right.
that's a heavy metropolis,
It's huge.
a lot of population. Yeah,
So somebody grabs your wallet from Vancouver Island, takes it all the way to Toronto, and mails it back to you.
I don't know, right? I have no idea, right? It's but
Mary,
it's
Mary,
so
Lou,
curious.
Mary Lou says time traveling, time
Time
travel.
travel.
You left it on one of your trips through time. I wonder what
Uh-huh.
we're doing in dream state. Like that was another thing that I was kind of connecting with last night in a very organic way. It wasn't like I forced it. I didn't go look for it, and I was like, but what started coming out of my mouth was as I was speaking to that you, me, we, and it, whatever. I was going. I want to have full memory of what goes on in dream state, and I heard like you can't. You would it would be too much information. You would blow up. You would just not be. But yes, it's coming in more and more and more for everybody. So there's going to be a slow integration. I'm also, and here's another thing. I go to sleep. You talked about sleep. Every night it's a chore to go to sleep. I don't want to go to sleep. I'm going to bed at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the morning. It's a chore to go to sleep. I don't feel like it's not natural. I
Yeah,
don't know if you can relate to that. You only
I
sleep
could
2 hours.
totally relate to that because I'm awake. I am my schedule is completely flipped. I'm only sleeping 2 hours at a time. Then I'll be up for a bit, and then I'll sleep for a bit. But so I'm generally up between 12 to 6 a.m., which is like kind of 2 to 7. You're 2 hours ahead. So we're up at the same time,
So
not
you're
sleeping.
yeah. I mean, I don't go to sleep till the earliest I'll get in the bed is at 4. Last
Yeah.
night I tried to go to bed at 4 because I try to leave at least 9 hours before the first show, and I fell asleep. It was after 6 because I remember seeing the whatever 6:30, 6:15, 6:30.
And how
I
long are you
take
sleeping for?
well, okay, so last night's a perfect example. I go to sleep at let's say 6:30. At 8:30, I wake up. 8:15, 8:30. Now I took 2 sleeping pills. Okay, which I
And
really don't
that,
like. I really
yeah.
don't like taking sleeping pills, but I've been doing it off and on for the last few weeks. So I woke up at 8:15, so 2 hours, hour 45 minutes, something like that.
So they didn't work.
No, and then I get up and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? And then I went back to sleep and I woke up at 11:11.
Oh,
Then I went back to sleep and I woke up at 12:12. And then I got my ass out of bed and got some coffee to get ready for the show with you and do some things. But yeah, and if I don't take a sleeping pill, I'll wake up on the clock every hour and a half to 2 hours. I'll be like, oh man, and then I'll go back to sleep. Sometimes I'll stay up for a couple of hours, go back to sleep, wake up. But it's really weird. If I don't take the sleeping pills, I don't go. Like with the sleeping pills, I'll have at some point I'll have 4 hours straight.
yeah,
4 hours straight. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And what about like when you wake up in the morning? Like last week, it's kind of leveled off the last 3 or 4 or 5 days to me, but the previous 10 days, I was waking up like somebody just like I was in a fight or I ran a marathon or both. Like my whole body was just like not fatigued, but almost like, a lot of physical exertion. Do you ever get that?
Not physically exertion. Well, I feel super sluggish.
Yeah.
When I get up, right? And
Yeah.
but as soon as I break inertia and get up and start moving around, first thing I do is get a big glass of electrolytes together, and then it's no problem. I'm up and I'm awake, right? So I don't want to lay there tossing and turning because that just is going to exacerbate feeling horrible when I get up. So I force myself to get up, even if I only slept for an hour. And then I don't know. It hasn't been too bad. I don't know. I don't know. I think I've been processing this stuff for so long on some level that I thought it was. I thought I just looking at comments, I saw people are just feeling so crappy or whatever, and I'm like, shit, I'm not feeling crappy. There's something wrong with me. But this last month, or since the November 11th, it's just gotten worse. I'm just feeling more sluggish and fatigued, and I think my adrenals are getting drained or whatever, and all of the above.
Yeah. Oh, somebody asked what I was going to ask. So you're drinking electrolytes.
Yeah.
Is that something you buy or you make? Or I mean, I'm familiar with the term. I know it's like
it's critical, right? It's critical. So what I do is I take a blender and I put like a teaspoon of good salt, not table salt stuff,
right,
but
good salt.
Right, good salt. You can look up electrolyte stuff and what the ingredients are. They got magnesium and so forth in it. I add some lemon juice, a bit of baking soda to neutralize the lemon, the acidity of it, and a bit of coconut oil, MCT oil, something for brain function. Whip it up.
What was the last thing? What was the second
Like
one?
MCT oil, coconut oil, MCT.
Oh, MCT.
MCT, and you want to get the number 8.
Number 8.
Whatever that means. Yeah.
So how does that feel? How does that feel when you drink it? Is that what you're drinking right now?
Yeah, that's what this is. Wherever it is, that's what this is, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it just hydrates you because we're using so much water. We can't drink enough water.
Yeah.
Right. So we got to keep constantly, hydrating with those.
I'm big with you on that. I mean, I can verify that too. I mean, that's my hair gets dry, my face gets dry, and I really, try to stay on top of it. And I've been doing pretty good with it for the most part. But there's periods of time, and I think it was, God, what day is this? Right? What's today? Was it this past weekend or the weekend before? Probably both, where we had these massive surge, like for 2 or 3 days, and it didn't matter how much water I drank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you get that message I sent you about using the hemp oil?
I don't remember. Was it by email?
Yeah. So that gal I met,
hemp oil,
super special tea, we'll call her. She mentioned that to me is the hemp oil, because it has omega 3, 6s, and 9s, and that helps with hydration.
So So I started juicing in June, and it's been about 80-90% of my diet, and I got off it uh, for about 5 or 6 days, and it was cool. It's like my body said, I actually had juice made and everything, and I just heard no. So I went, went got a cheeseburger, and I ate some Mexican food, but I didn't overeat. I noticed that I can't eat like I used to. Like, I go to the Mexican restaurant, I could order appetizers and a full dinner and eat it all, 2 beers, and I go home. Uh, Now I'm taking a plate home. I'm not getting
Yeah.
appetizers. I order a plate. I eat a little bit. I take it home. But yesterday I got, okay, it's time to get back on. So I juiced last night, and I've got everything ready to start juicing again. But what I noticed is, even with the juice, right when I was getting off the juice, because I was doing five glasses that were 800 mil.
Yeah.
So I think that's like 24 ounces. So 5 of those a day, organic fruit and vegetables, 75% vegetables. But I was noticing I couldn't drink 5 a day. It
Yeah.
went down to like 4, and then 3. And then the last day I'm like, I don't even want to go there. So it wasn't just that I needed to change a little bit, but it was also I couldn't take as much in. So I made 5 last night, and I don't feel like I want to drink anything right now but water and coconut water. I don't know how many glasses that I'm going to use today, but within 7 or 8 hours, whatever I don't think I'm going to use, I'm just going to put in the freezer
Hmm.
to either to thaw and drink or make a smoothie.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's something weird going on, really strange. Like
When
the
you
heavy.
can I
Go ahead,
when you eat, when you decide to go and get some food, how does it feel after? Like, is your body
dude. It's
grateful
like
that you
the
got
most.
had?
Absolutely, it's like the most sensory satisfying experience I can have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like I don't like. Okay, so like the other night I went. There's this because I'm in a small town in Arkansas, next to Fort Smith, which is a big town, but I don't go in there. There's this mom and pop family restaurant that's been around for like 50 years on this obscure highway, and they've got the best food. It's just home cooking, and I don't, I eat pretty well. I don't, eat a lot of fried food. I never have, whatever. But I went over there, and I don't even know what I had, but whatever the hell it was so good. I think it was, and I'm going to probably freak some people out because I don't eat like this all the time, but it was just all instinct. So I got this order of grilled chicken liver, right? I got this plate with, I can't remember what it was. It was chicken and dumplings. And I'm telling you, the experience was almost sexual. It was
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
same with the Mexican food. I craved a couple of other things. I can't remember what it was. Thai food. I went and got some spring rolls, but it stops. Like, I don't
Yeah.
eat as much.
Yeah.
Uh, and then what? The reason I knew I was supposed to start juicing, or one of the reasons, start back up with the juice again, is I woke up yesterday morning. I usually purge in dream state. That's a deal I made with my soul. And when ever since I did that, that's what happens. But it also comes out through my pores, and you know how it is. I mean, we're just getting all this impurity out. But I purged like crazy yesterday morning. And so what was telling me was, it's not even accepting what I'm eating. Not it's just pushing it through. Like,
Yeah.
it's a whole different system now. So
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't know
so
how, I don't know.
what I'm getting here, sorry to interrupt. What I'm getting here, Todd, is when you're juicing and you're doing all that stuff, you're the body's not getting some things that it wants.
Right,
Therefore, the craving is going to pop up, and I want to get the cheeseburger or the chicken or whatever
right.
because you want the iron or the B12s or the things that you need, right? Plus, you get the sensory pleasure of eating that as well, and then you only have the little bit you need, not the 3 plates or whatever, and then you're back to juicing or whatever. It's that fine balance, right?
Yeah. And see, and here we go, the synchronicities again too. Like, I woke up yesterday. and there were obviously a lot of stuff was coming to an end, and some stuff was starting, like the juicing, and I can't recall everything right now, but I was in, I wasn't. I'm a very positive person. I always have been, very optimistic, and I woke up going, ugh. Morgan and I just had a conversation with our attorney to try to get her over here. We've got some things to do. We got to go through the system, apparently, even though we're in the 5D. I mean, so I was like in this space of like, fuck. But I don't know. So I purged in the morning. Uh, I went to the organic grocery store. I got all the good stuff. I mean, the best of the best. I got everything, and I'm like fired up. I'm like, this is cool. But it was all very natural. I get home, and the postman's pulling up, and I never get anything. I've got something for you. I get this box. It's from Morgan. It's got 7 summer roll candy bars, which would be the only candy bar I would eat. Oh my God, these things are great. And she has 12 tins of this badass Australian tuna and salmon. See, so that's really when I juice, I try to eat fatty fish. I love it anyway, and avocado. Um, but I have to like limit myself because I love them so much. I'll eat like an avocado tuna sandwich every single day with tomato, lettuce, everything organic on rye bread. And my body's saying, no, you can't do that. So I think the fact that the fish came in the same day I got back on the diet, I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. So I'm just going to have it without bread, have it with a cracker, have it with tomato or something, avocado, and then just see how it goes. I just don't know how much I'm going to be able to take in. She's an ET like you and Franco, and I've seen Franco's eating habits. We stayed together for a while, but Morgan doesn't eat. She'll eat like seriously. She'll eat like 6 crackers and 3 pieces of cheese, this big. Or a boiled egg and like a little plate of like 2 little baby tomatoes, a mushroom, and a couple of pieces of fresh cucumber for the day. And
Yeah.
since I've known her,
Wow.
yeah, I'm like,
Wow.
how does that work? Yeah, it's
You know
trippy.
what I wonder how it works is how are the breatharians doing it? That intrigues me.
I don't know.
That lifestyle.
you know, I think I saw this. I came into this in the last 48 hours. So much of it's energy, right? You pick up on it. It's frequency. I can't tell you who I talked to that told me this or how this came about, right? But every one of us, I mean, there's such a universal representation on the earth. Everybody's bringing something different to the party, right? And sometimes that has to do with diet, has to do with all kinds of different things. So I don't know, like, can I be a breatharian? I don't know. Uh, I'd like to get one on here that's actually doing it. Okay. I'd love to have that conversation. Franco was a fruitarian for a long time. I think he said about 5 or 6 years, and then
Yeah.
his body told him you need to shift a little bit.
Yeah.
He was a vegan. I went to dinner with him several times, and we hung out. But I mean, he ate pretty good. He
Yeah.
ate pretty good. I know it's
I,
just I guess it's
I,
different
I
for
was
everybody.
looking at some of his older videos,
Hmm.
and he was just talking about originally we were supposed to just run on our glands
Yeah,
and our organs and eat very. If we're going to eat, it was more for sensory
exactly.
purposes or whatever. I don't know. It's come back
Yeah,
again. It's just a wild ride of what's unfolding and what can be, and yeah, it's awesome.
his information is incredible.
Yeah,
His information is incredible, and I didn't know this, but so when he first came on, we did 50. I want to say 51 shows. I counted them the other day, and I might be off 1 or 2 because we got knocked off, censored a few times. But I remember when he first came on, It would have been a little over 2 years ago. And you know the way I question things, the way I ask questions or whatever. And he's like, "Well, I don't really talk about that." Or I can't talk about that. And he says, "I don't know if you're ready for that." I said, "We're ready. This is where all the crazy people are." Anyway, that just kind of started the whole thing. But his information was as I would put it up against anybody's, because
Yeah.
it had no ego. It had no.
Yeah. None.
It was just the purest of
Yeah.
the pure. And you know, the
Yeah.
interesting thing is so we started doing shows, and one day we were living in Hawaii. We were living in Kauai in this little apartment, trying to just survive, right? Just doing shows. And he said, so we decided, let's have a private Zoom meeting. So Morgan and I sat down with him, and he started talking. We weren't like we became. We were still kind of like, it was like the first time we ever like did anything like that. And I remember there was one point, like we were just talking, and all of a sudden everything went silent. And now we're on, the laptop, and he just went into this. You talk about the space between, right? Thoughts. He
Yeah.
just went into this, like it was just silence. And but from his eyes and from the energy and the free, from the whole thing, it was a fucking download. It was like, and we just sit there, and then it went on for like 4 or 5 minutes, and then he said something. He said something like, "That was for y'all," but it wasn't coming from him. It was coming through him, right? And then about a week or two later, because when Morgan and I are together, we connect every night, as everybody knows, and so it was like a week later, we we go to bed, we put our hands together, we lay down, and all of a sudden, you just feel this. We were having some badass episodes anyway in Hawaii, but this was like, whoa. And so 4 people who we knew, who we were kind of like in association with or collaborated with, and he was the first one. He came in, his spirit came in and merged with both of us. And it was so trippy because in the energy of the merging, not only did you get information and sensation, but you also got the frequency of that person, that soul. Like I couldn't see him. I could see him a little bit, but it wasn't like the human Franco, but you could feel him. Almost like if a person wears a certain cologne or perfume, right?
Yeah.
And then the reason I know it was legit is because then after him, 3 more came. And each one of them, you could feel who they really were. They were also saying things. It was very interesting.
Wow.
It really was. Yeah. So, yeah, he's obviously very special.
Yeah. Special.
Yeah. See, all this shit that we're talking about, I was thinking about last night and yesterday. So you and him must
Um,
be connected some way.
you know, when I was watching a Franco show, and he mentioned you and Franco mentioned Dolores Cannon. I never heard of Dolores Cannon before.
Yeah.
And then in May, so that was what, 6 months ago? Yeah, 6 months ago. A video pops up in my YouTube feed, and it's a Dolores Cannon video. And the title was curious, but what was more curious was the time length of the video, because there'd be the hours, minutes, and seconds, right? 5 digits. Well, those 5 digits were my seniority number at work.
So you can't make this shit up.
You can't. So I watch it, and the first episode I saw was the 3 waves.
Yeah. Yeah. See, another thing I learned from Franco too, and this would apply to Dolores Cannon, in my opinion, and any others, Jason, any of them. But the thing I loved about Franco, one of the things that I loved about his intel, is that it was fluid. In other words, when I first met him, I remember him telling me, um, well, we're going to do this for this period of time, and then by 2035, this is what it's going to be like. But over those 2 years, that changed, right? Like, so he would always say, this is where it looks like now, but it can change. It's just like getting your fortune told. You get your fortune told, or you have a reading, and it may be 100% resonant and aligning with, you
Yeah.
just feel it, the hairs on your body are standing up. But the minute you leave, everything's subject to change and modification. This is a trajectory.
Yep.
So I always appreciated that about his stuff. And I also always appreciated the fact that he didn't have that yogi guru thing going. He
Yeah.
like totally, and people don't know this. People don't know this, but this guy, you talked about stealing from Peter to pay Paul with your credit cards and line of credit. This dude was seriously in debt. Like, I'm talking 6 figures.
Yeah.
And he was in pain. I'm just talking about serious fucking pain. He had Lyme's disease. He had multiple organs that were in failure for an extended period of time. He had a heart that shouldn't have been functioning. When I was in Sedona with him, which was the summer of, which was June of this year, I think it was 18 months prior was the last time he'd been to the doctor. They were the last, and he went to like 5 different ones, traditional ones, trying to figure something out. And he went to the last one. They said, we got to run some tests on your heart, man, dude. He had 5 near-death experiences, five NDEs from 2013, I think, to 2018. And so the doctor, Franco, came in and said, so what do you think? You know, and Franco never got concerned about anything, right? He just like, hey, so what do you think? And the guy says, dude, you shouldn't be standing here. This is impossible. You don't even have enough blood in your body. So he had obviously already had some kind of modifications done through, through his connection. Yeah, he was pretty fucking amazing dude, man.
Wow.
I mean,
he just soldiered on.
Yeah, and he would have kept doing it. He would have kept doing it, He would have. But I had an interesting conversation with Franco in Sedona. So we did the Soulogy Fest, and he was magnificent. I got him and Jason on the stage at the same time. I need to put all this stuff out. I've played it a couple of times on remixes, but I need to put the whole thing out, like a documentary or whatever. But so anyway, after the Soulogy Fest, him and Kimberly came to stay in the condo that had been gifted to me by my friend Ashley Lee, and so they stayed for 2 nights. The first night he's there, we just started talking on the couch, and I said, dude, I need to know some things. Like, there's things you'll say on the show, like, I can't talk about that. Bullshit. Let's talk about this. I want to know some things. So I said to him, who are these people talking to you, man? Like how does that work for you? Like, I have my own thing, and I'm at this stage in my life, and I was telling him this. So it was part asking him about his own experience, and part of it was asking him in my effort to try to understand and be in integrity and be in alignment and just to be enlightened, I guess. So I said to him, who are these people you talk to? So he starts telling me these stories. He's telling me stories about, I'm laying this. He said, oh, Todd, well, this was one of the more recent ones. I'm laying in my bed, because I started asking him, why are you having this physical problem? Why are you having this intense pain? Why are you having to live like this? I mean, this guy was literally a walking dead by human terms. So he says, yeah, they came the other day, it's like laying in bed, and he goes, I sleep in the nude, and, and I look up and there's these three ET brothers standing at the edge of the bed, and I said, hey, come with us. And he's like, and I'm sleeping in the nude, and I just, I got up they got me out of bed. I'm naked. The next thing I know, they walk me in. We're on the spaceship. I'm on this table. They're doing something. This is like normal shit for the dude, right? So I said to him, Franco, the human is the fucking hero, man. Okay? We're the boots on the ground doing the fucking work. Excuse my French, but I'm just passionate.
I swear all the time, buddy. Keep going.
And I said, we don't need to suffer. And we have dominion. We are sovereign at every fucking timeline, every dimension. I don't give a damn until you're standing in front of that and all that is that, which is me anyway. So it's, whatever, right? So I said, do you ever question them? Because I do. I question, I don't care if it's the voice I've always heard. I'm me. I'm conscious. This is me. This is just me. I'm not trying to put this on anybody else. But so I said to him, he said, and then Kimberly, and here we go with the divine feminine, right? Quiet, she's over there, just, and she says, yeah, Franco. That's what I said. Who are you talking to? Like we don't have to serve. These entities, energy complexes, etc., that are communicating through us, that are facilitating what we're doing. They have agendas. They're not whole. Just because they're in it doesn't mean that they're perfectly, I mean, it's the truth. That's why the human thing is such a paradox, because I believe we're actually the most powerful. We're made up of the most. It only makes sense. But anyway, so it was interesting because he said, yeah, I've asked him this and I've asked him that. And I ended up having a big download the next day, which became eerily prophetic in October. And, and the interesting thing is when Kimberly called me, because I had gotten, it was COVID, and I had gotten hit the same day, almost the same time. It was on a Monday, and I knew I had it, and I had it in the previous year. Morgan and I both did, but I knew it. I just knew, and that's all I need to know. It's just me. I don't have to prove to anybody. So I'm killing it on the couch for 5 days. I'm processing it, through this whole experience, and I documented some of it. Well, on that Friday, I started to come out of it, and she called me, and she told me he's not doing very good. And I said, man, I don't know how we got on this conversation, but the bottom line was, she told me, he told them, get the fuck out. He told them all, get the fuck out. I'm only going to speak to my soul from here out. And, a few days later, he transitioned. Now, this was after he had said he had a contract that ran through, I think, 2044, and then he had another one that ran through like 2070 something. But I believe he made that choice. To get out of the pain, man. I mean, it's just, or to choose another body or something. Who knows? Maybe he jumped.
Part of me, what pops into my head there is so that we are not so reliant on new Franco intel. Want to leave us to our own devices as well.
I absolutely agree with that. And also that because I mean, if you look at what he did 200 videos, and his videos weren't short. I'm not talking about the work he did with me. From the beginning from about the time COVID started, it was right about that time, February, March 2020, he did 200, I'd say average 2-hour episodes for activating, advancing consciousness.
Yeah, and they're gold to go back
Dude,
and look at them now.
they are the living Akashic.
Yeah,
They're everything. Dude, that's 200. I've downloaded about half of them. I always had, the network. I downloaded the network. I mean, just came through me. I was shown what it is. I don't know how physical or how, I don't know that whole thing, but it's coming on board. But one of the things I wanted to do was to take and basically make a Franco channel. And, in other words, create this network where everybody has their own channel, or just go plug in and make it on your own, like you do at Wikipedia, or YouTube. You just make your own and uncensored and so on. But I've gathered a lot of his stuff there, and I have had a hard time watching this stuff. And Kimberly and I talked about this, and I'm going to talk to her again tonight, but she's gone through a lot. But she's also incredible. So you can imagine if you have a Franco and he has a partner for 10 plus years, she's on the same level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's, you know what I mean? It's just like, I used to have to remind myself that with Morgan, because I look at Morgan in the early years and go, oh my God, what the hell am I doing here?
Yeah.
And then say, well, wait a minute, you're an equal frequency. You're just looking at the difference or whatever. But she's very powerful. But anyway, she's actually going to come on. She wants to come on and talk about it at some point. And she is going to keep it going. She just is going to spend some time relocating and spending some time for herself. And I think probably February she'll come back out. But she's going to come on the show at some point and talk about it, because I was amazed at the level of understanding that she had, even though she misses the human Franco, right? Like we all do. But it was amazing the way she said, Todd, there's something big going on. And I think the way he went out, 200 shows in a year and a half, he did some other stuff that it was very obvious what he was doing. And, but I think he went out with like a boss, dude, like just totally like, and I think you're right. I think he's put the information there, and you guys, that's the name of the game. You got to do it on your own.
It was like, okay, you got to go within now. That's all that matters is inner frequency, what we're sustaining.
I don't have a playlist, but if you go to Soulogy One Studios YouTube, and you sort by most popular, that'd probably be the easiest way. Or you could just search SoulSpeaks 5D, Franco Di Nicola, and then just start going through them. But yeah, I think probably. Actually, I don't even know how to approach that. How would you dig into Franco? He also has
I went to Advancing Consciousness.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Because somebody asked, you could go to Advancing Consciousness and just start it at episode 1.
And then there's 2 channels. He's got 2, right? 2, the podcast channel or whatever. Yeah. There's so much.
I'm gonna do my best to work with her, Kimberly, and try to assist if I can, putting that all in one place. And if the network does what I believe it'll do, there'll be a Franco channel. I got enough material. I mean, I got 50 shows with him. He's got another 200 episodes of that.
Yeah, there's loads. There was, not to change the subject from Franco, because Franco's just so awesome, but there was 7 craft hanging out here over the Pacific last week. Yeah, and I'm looking at these things cloaked in the clouds, right when the sun's coming up, and plain as frickin' day. Anybody looking at that didn't have a rubber band on their thinking could see these things, the complete outline, the tip, huge mothership. It was crazy. And a couple months before I quit, there was some planets were aligned, and I'm looking out there because it's complete black and stars where I look. There's no streetlights or anything, and I see this weird thing moving in the sky. So I take out these binoculars and I'm looking at it. I go, man, that's like some kind of weird portal or spinning vortex or something. And I'm watching it, and all of a sudden, all I could see at the binoculars was the outline of the battleship in Philadelphia experiment. You ever see that?
Dude, yeah, I saw it.
Oh,
I saw the original years ago.
okay. So all I saw in the binoculars was the ship.
Yeah.
The next day, I'm working. I pull into a bus stop. This guy gets on. He's got a replica model about 3 feet of the battleship I saw the night before.
Okay, see, that's legit. It's got to be legit. But if you do any research into the secret space program, etc., that's what happened. What happened was, once the technology came through, I mean, they put out about the Foo Fighters, and they put out about some of the stuff that's, they drop us little pieces, but if you get into the depths of it, and you can find it out there, once the technology hit, it wasn't like 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 2 = 4. This was a very advanced information technology. So what I've pulled from it is that, and there's a lot substantiated out there, that the first thing that they did was they used like submarines and large boats that were already made, and they just modified them for space travel. So I don't doubt I don't doubt for a minute. I mean, and these are the conversations I used to have with Franco, even online. Like, how does that work? And my feeling is, my understanding is, the Galactics are facilitating this. We're doing it. They're facilitating it.
Yeah.
So there's this, to me, and I've always wondered, okay, where does this, like, when I go into Dimension, or Morgan and I have episodes, and we had eight humanoid aspects appear in our room. We had Merlin appear in our room. We both watching it, walk through a wall, I mean, in many other episodes. And I always would say to Franco, okay, man, so to me, that's like physical. They're in the physical, even though we can't see them. They're part of this physical reality, this realm, this universe, this galaxy, solar system. Where I'm having these experiences, some of these experiences are beyond that. They come from a higher place. I come from beyond the galactics, I used to say to him. That's how I feel, So I think there's a physical aspect to those ships. I don't think they're the savior. I think they're just observing and facilitating.
Yeah.
But then again, like I always say, at the end of the day, we could be a droplet on a petri dish in a 6th grader's chemistry lab in elementary school on planet X1789 in 14 multiverses away. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
It's such a, and I don't mean this in a bad way. It's such a mind fuck. Like,
it's a mind. Yeah.
I mean, in the sense, like, okay, what is reality?
Yeah.
Right. And you go back, and who am I? And you go back, and you go back, and you go back, and and now we're getting to the space of where it's just me. Right.
Yeah.
And even with Morgan. But then at the same time, I have this thing with her where we are one, and it's become physical, and it's become telepathic, and it's become weird, and it's become cool. I mean, how do you have physical relations with someone on the other side of the world your light bodies are, and your body's feeling it. And you're
Yeah.
like, pick up the phone and say, do you know what just happened? Oh my God, it just happened to me.
Yeah.
You were here and this was happening. I thought I was losing my mind.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so there's some kind of wild, crazy thing going on. And I believe that our belief systems dictate the whole thing.
Totally.
You
Totally.
know, like, so
Reminds you know what? Speaking of weird, it reminds me of it was something that said, imagine you're having a dream, and a dream that's so real, and in that dream you're holding a flower in your hand, and upon your awakening, when you wake up, in your hand is the same flower you were holding.
yeah,
How do you know which one is real?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, mind
My
fuck.
son, when I don't know if you know my story, but when I first reawoke, I went homeless for two years, and I had my son at the time. My oldest son was 16, and he technically was living with me, so we would hook up, uh, every 2-3 days, get a hotel room or something. He was staying with friends, and at the time, he's got these dreadlocks, right? He was a skateboarder. He's very good. He still skates today. Um, and I used to call him the Zen master. He looked like one. He
Wow.
looked like a,
Wow.
and so anyway, but he said something to me one time back in those times, those traumatic times, and he says, "Dad, you tell me the table is blue. How do you know that?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "How do you know it's blue?" I said, "Because it's blue. Blue is this color." And he says, "How do you know my blue is your blue?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's you know what I mean."
Yeah. Yeah.
Like so
Yeah.
that's why I say, like, there's 8 billion people on the earth. There's 8 billion earths in some way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's I mean, it's
Yeah.
a trippy deal. I think this experience that we're on is the cream of the crop.
I concur. Yeah. It's a trip, all right. It's wild. It's a wild ride.
I love it, man.
I love it
I
too.
absolutely love it.
Live it to the max.
I know, man. So when are you gonna hook up with this lady again? Do you know?
Actually, well, we did a meditation this morning, and I'll be talking to her tonight, and probably we'll
You
hook up this week
Did you do it
again.
together? The meditation?
Yeah,
Or-
she
or
lives
you-
5 minutes away from me, but we just did it online. We did it in Amanda Lawrence meditation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So wow, that's now does she watch shows like this, or do you know?
Um, I think so. Some I haven't had this conversation yet, but she's very on point so far. It's a nice
Are y'all having like
it's a good
these
fit.
are you having like these wow moments? Like, I can't believe
Wow, total
you're like
wow.
poking him and
To,
going, are you really here?
totally,
That's what I used to do with
totally.
Morgan. We'd be driving down the road and I'd poke her and go, God, you're actually
Yeah,
here. You're
yeah,
good.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, this is what excites me is because I do spend a lot of time, as I talk about, I don't watch much, but I drop in on different shows, different platforms, and I don't know. That's some kind of unconscious thing. It feeds me information. I don't know. It just brings me clarity. I don't know what it does. So it's something in my makeup. But um, even in some of the ones I've been following for years, they're just not. They're not holding water anymore.
Mhm.
There's something. It's like the only truth. It could be anything. How do you make enchiladas? Anything that's truth, the person's true there, that it's gonna have this contagious expanding effect. But when the subject matter is about, like, what we just talked about with you for the last hour and 50 minutes, dude, you just met somebody 96 hours ago on a beach on Vancouver Island who you meditated with this morning. You heard her voice several weeks ago when you were ordering groceries to your house and her voice activated you and it sounds like it was mutual.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Totally.
I
Yeah.
mean, come on. You tell these stories about when you're a little kid. Some of these just popped into your head now. Some of them you remember, but not in the same way. Now it's all making sense. Make
Yeah.
sense of that. These things are
Exactly.
happening all over the world.
Yeah.
And this energy to me is so profound that even if there was a small minority, it would be a very powerful, strong minority. But I believe it's a lot bigger than we thought.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited. I'm really starting to feel like that. You know, I've been talking. I talked about a Soulogy Fest for 4 years before it happened. We're going to have one next month. We're going to have one next month. But I downloaded the Soulogy Network thing, the multiple channel, handheld accessible, the whole thing, right? Over since like 2015. I didn't start talking about it until 2017. But I really feel like that's going to come out. And that's what the whole gist or the whole objective is, for people to express themselves. Because in my opinion, when people um, express themselves raw, real, vulnerable, transparent, direct, human, that's the most powerful thing we can see.
Yeah.
It does. It's going to do more than Mother Mary. All respect to Mother Mary and any other, in essence, energy complex entity. But there's something about uh, people like what I just experienced with you. To me, that was extremely powerful. I don't know what the hell it means. I can't tell you the connection or the activation or the revelation or epiphany from your stories about when you were young, but they were full of code. There was something in between there was something in that middle space that you're talking about that you live in.
Yeah.
I think we're all starting to live there.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
Man, you lit me up, dude. You have to come back on.
I'd love to. I'd love to be.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah. Yeah. If I was in Arkansas, man, you wouldn't get rid of me. I'd be at your door all the time.
That'd be okay as part of the day. I'm such a recluse. I had some people, some a brother and sister drop by, who I actually seen, I think now 4 times in the flesh. They came to Hawaii. I didn't even know them. Then I saw them in Florida. Then I saw them at Soulogy Fest. Anyway, they popped in, and it tripped me out because Morgan and I had never had a place, right? And we ended up getting a place June of 2020 here in a very affordable state, probably the most affordable state. But anyway, they came through, and it dawned on me. Dude, so this would have been November, and like I told Morgan, I said, "You realize nobody's been in this house since you left in April? Like I don't see anybody. It's crazy."
Mm,
But I think there was a lot of that going on this year, and I think it was necessary for a lot of
yeah.
people. But
Totally.
yeah, man, if I can ever get out of this country, everybody wants to come here. I want to get the hell out. I can't even get out legally, but I'm working on it. But yeah, I'd love to go to Vancouver Island. That's one place I'd love to go.
Yeah. Well,
So we
you
have a
didn't you,
we, huh?
your sister lives over on the mainland or something. You mentioned
In Canada.
in BC.
Oh well, yeah. I was just going to mention that, and that's not really it's my soul
Oh,
sister.
soul sister. Okay, but
Yeah,
okay,
Hung Nguyen.
okay.
She's crazy, man. She's wild. She's all dragon. I mean, we went up to so we came over from the mainland. We were told you got to go to the mainland, and it was weird because the night before we left, we didn't have any money. I had to borrow money to get our car because we told the team, hey, if we're going to the mainland, we're going to have a car. So I had to borrow money, get over to California. But the night before we left, we were on the beach, and all of a sudden, people started calling, and like the next 2 months was mapped out where we were going to stay. It was crazy. Oh, you can stay here for 3 days and a week here, and none of it was coordinated.
Yeah.
So we ended up going to the northeast part of Washington State, a place called Yelm, Washington. and we're staying on this this organic farm, dude. I'd never seen anything like it. It was like 20 yards by. It was big, and it was full of vegetables. I'd never eaten corn on the cob ever. I mean, I would go
Oh,
out there in the mornings and just eat it, man. It was so good, and everything. But so Hung Nguyen left. She lives 4 hours away in Vancouver, and she had actually come to see us in Kauai too. And I remember that she was there with family. Anyway, she got up that morning and she's like, "These two dragons. I was going to go see my friend, and these two dragons showed up, and they said you got to go see Todd Morgan." So she drove 4 hours to come see us. But yeah, she lives there. She lives over there.
Awesome.
And there's some other friends that live there. I can't remember all their names right now. So, dude, it's a pleasure meeting you, and thank you for coming in and chilling. That was like the smoothest 2 hours, and I don't know, man. There's something fantastic happening in our lives, and
it's fantastic. And thank you so much. It's just been a real pleasure chatting with you, but just coming across the channel that and all the effort that you've put out to everybody, and it's just such a blessing, and I'm just so grateful for this chance to chat with you, my friend. So thanks again, and thank you.
We'll do it again. We'll see. Maybe it'd be cool. It'd be God, the other guy, Ursa Minor. He's on YouTube, been on a long time. He came on about 2 months ago. I think he's in Canada. He might be in Toronto. Anyway, God, I can't remember his name right now, but it was only in the last 2 weeks. Super dude, super cool like you. And it'd be cool to get like you and him and Taino on the show at the same time.
Yeah.
There's part of what I'm seeing with you is what I've been seeing. It's been coming on, but it's really starting to come out now. And that's this, I guess what you would say is like the personification of masculine energy. Like this, I don't know, it's not what we were obviously told. You know what I mean? But I've watched it happen. Robert Evans, this guy Jamie from Australia on it the other day, you, Ursa Minor, Taino is another great example. So yeah, it's coming out. Yeah.
I think full force.
That's why I think we'll see a lot more situations like what you're going through right now. You got to keep us posted, man.
Yeah.
Send me a picture. Right. Send me a picture of that where you're that bird, and I will send you. I'll give you the information on how to send the video.
Yeah. Okay. I will. Will do. All right. Man. Love you. Thanks so much. Take care.
Right. Okay. You take care.
All the best.
See y'all later. We'll be back at. Let's see what time we'll be back. I think it's in an hour and a half with Jenny Blonde.